second day of the conference, Enhancing Language and Communication. So I am really glad to introduce our first speaker of today's session, Professor Muhammad Shahriar Parvez, who's going to talk on the topic Communicative Social Capital and Motivation for Sustainable Education. Professor Parvez has a distinguished career and experience in different fields of knowledge. Professor Parvez is an academician, professor, and researcher in development economist. He is bestowed with international awards, Chancellor's Gold Medalist, valedictorian, social activist, inspirational, motivational conference speaker, advisor, and think tank, fashion critic, writer, editor, author, and so many more titles on his credit. He has a doctorate in social knowledge and a humanitarian PhD research fellow. Professor Muhammad Shahriar Parvez has commenced his career as a noble profession, that is teaching, as a university faculty. And he has researched for last 15 years, and it's his inimitable activity to conduct headship, program coordinations, lectures, academic counseling, invigilation, question paper moderation, and internship, thesis paper supervision, and research for graduate and postgraduate level. He is involved in educational evaluation projects and World Bank and UGC Bangladesh. His research area has included finance, banking, development economics, and tourism, with a special focus on microfinance, microinsurance, financial and ecotourism. He has also involved with multi-focus research areas such as marketing and social science. Currently, he has total 29 published research papers in different national, international journals and conferences. He is very simple in person and always believes that knowledge is power for freedom. So, sir, I welcome you to this session, and now the session is all yours. Thank you.
Uh, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Kusum. And it's my honor that you introduced me with a huge thing. So basically, I'm a very simple person. And I always believe that knowledge is the sharing thing. So for that reason, when your organization invited me to give a speech, I'm very much glad to this organization to inviting me this kind of knowledgeful platform. And today it's the international conference, and so far I believe that those who are actually attending this conference, they are in the field of education or research or many types of corporate bodies also being here. Am I permitted to show my slides, madam?
Yeah, sure, sir. Sure. Kindly, you may proceed.
Yes. Uh, it's okay for all to see the slides. I'm just showing the slides show. It's
Yes,
clear
it is
to
visible, sir.
okay, visible. I am just changing one slide. Please, madam, ensure me that the slides are changing. I already changed my slides. It's okay?
So it's not visible. It's not changed. It's the first slide only.
Okay.
Yeah, now it's changed. Now it's the next one.
Okay, fine. So already Madam Kusum describing a huge thing on me. Basically, I'm a very simple person. So today, basically, is the uh, international virtual workshop on enhancing language and communication. And I think that it's a very much important topic for us, because if you have so much knowledge inside you, but without communicate your knowledge or sharing your knowledge, then it's not possible to divert yourself in different kinds of arena or area. So communication skill is the very important part in our life. So today is our focus point is the communicative social capital and motivation for sustainable education. Because what do you mean by that? When we are communicative, then we build up a social capital with that communicative power, and with that thing we create a motivational thing inside us. Also, we deliver that motivation to our student for the sustainable education. So what is capital? The capital is anything that actually increase one's ability to generate the value. It can be used to increase the value across a wide range of categories such as financial, social, physical, or intellectual. And if you just see this thing, that in the capital thing, there are 8 forms of capital actually are here. That is, one is intellectual capital, which inside you. One is spiritual capital. Another one is social capital. Another one is material capital, financial capital, living capital, cultural capital, so on. So these types of capital actually around us. So in this point, I just say one thing, that the audience, if you want to ask me any type of question, feel free. Please write down your question in the chat box, because after my presentation, I will try to give the answer of your question. With your name, please. Okay. Another point is here that in the 8 forms of capital, we have something. Like in the intellectual capital, you have the idea, the concept, and the knowledge. In the form of a spiritual capital, you have your faith inside you. In the social capital, you have the connection, you have the influence. Like our topic is communicative social capital. So which means is a connection, communication. In the material capital, you have the raw material, products, or structure. In the financial capital, you have money, currency, and securities. You have, without financial capital, you are not work in a town, because in this era, we must need money to buy something, or to living expenses. So in the living capital, you have your soil, your water, animals, and plants around us. Also in the cultural capital, we are the peoples of cultural capital. Also, we like the story, we are the writer, we like the songs. These are our cultural capital. Also, we have some experiential capital, which is actually we want to know how it will do. Then in these 8 forms of capital, like 8 forms of currency, you have the currency. Also, you have the complexing this currency with your capital. In the social capital, you have connection, like you connect your influences with communication. Also, you connect with the people to build up the relationship. Also, in the material capital, you have the material natural resources. Also, in the financial capital, you have money. You have the financial investment in the security market or in the insurance also. In the living capital, you have water, you have carbon. These are around us. So without capital, we are not live alone. So now, in the forms of 8 forms of capital, in the social capital, today is our main focus on social capital, and which is like to know who you know. It means that how can you interact, your communication with each other, with build up your relationship in the society. Now thinking the point that why I am telling this thing, because this is a social capital or communicative skill, but I am talking about the huge types of capital like financial capital or blah blah blah. But actually the point is here that when you are alone, actually at that time, if you have no communicative power at that time, actually you are not positively move in your life. So communicative power is a very much important for you. And also, if whatever language you know, if you know how to communicate with each other, then you can communicate in many ways. Communication is not a thing that you just trying your language. It's a thing that you also try your gesture, your posture, your culture also is a part of your communication. So if you are social, then yes, in this way you can move around in your life and you enjoy your life. So communicative social capital is very much important in our day-to-day life. Otherwise, it's not possible for us to sustain alone in our life. Because if you think that the family, the concept of family is the communication. But now, what do you see? We see that our family is now is a piece of pie of a cake, like it's called the nuclear family: father, mother, parents. But at the time, if we say that yes, it's a good family, the huge family, you have the grandfather, you have the grandmother, you have the also your cousins, and all of us are get together in a social arena. But now we are alone because we are in a concept, we believe in a concept of nuclear family, and it is not a social life. So you must value the family, you must value your communicative social power. Now, what is social capital? Social capital is nothing. It is, do not live alone. You live with your family. You live with your friends. You communicate with your bodies, like the regulatory bodies, your jobs arena, like your colleagues, your subordinate, your boss. All of you are in a circle of social capital. If you think you are alone and you sustain in your life in this lonely, because at that time you feel loneliness in your life. For that reason, the very much communicative power is necessary for you to communicate with your social bodies. So it is very much important for you to communication with your society, with your neighbor, because today's life, we don't know what my neighbor is doing. In a flat system, we are all living in a flat in a urban area. So in that area, we don't know what's our neighbor actually doing. So we have no social capital. We have no communicative skill inside us. So now the point is here, in the social capital, you have the social network. It is needs the communication. You need the trust. You must trust someone. And also share your norms and your value. Because without sharing your norms and value, It's not possible to capture this social capital, this communicative skill inside you. So share your norms and value, and always respect the senior citizen of your country. So suppose you are live in a area which is not belongs to your culture, but if you share your norms and your value, and if you communicate with the person, with your neighbors, or with the social people, then it is very much easier for you to cope up with them and to sustain your life in this world. Now, the concept of social capital. The social capital is the process of building trusting relationship, mutual understanding, share the action that bring together individual, community, and also the institution. So it's a communication thing. It's a communication process. In a communication process, you have what? You need the feedback. So in the social capital is also give you that feedback. When you give something, then you get the feedback. It's a decoding your language. So in this process enable cooperative action that generate the opportunity or resource realized through the network, sharing norms, and social agency. In the social capital, also, in a Harvard University, Professor Robert said, social capital is a connection among the individuals. So communicate with the individuals, social network, and the norms of reciprocity and trustworthiness. So it's a trust. Also, you trust someone. Social capital is a resource that a person either has or can develop by being able to bridge the structural hole in a social network. So you communicate with this thing to build up your social power. The concept of social capital became prominent in the business literature also in 1998. Now come to the point that the social capital is a special type of capital that is resulting from the investment in building relationship, institution, and network that produce collaborative attitude, share the norms and value, mutual understanding, trust for cooperation with other types of capital, and thus contribute to the sustainable development. That is the main point, that in our arena, in the SDG goal, we need the sustainable development. So how can we sustain ourselves in this process? Because we are the human being. So sustainable, if we are not build up the sustainable development inside us, then it's not possible to live in this world, because now it's a social world. We have the pumped up in our hand. We have the mobile phone in our hand. We just click on the mobile phone and we capture the whole global village in your hand. For that reason, when any kind of incident occur all around the world, you know it on that moment, on the real-time basis. That is called the social capital for sustainability, for sustainable development. Now, come to the point. This is the 4 pillars of social capital. Like in a social capital, you are the social exchange, social capital, and under the social capital, you have the 4 pillars. And you see the norms and reciprocity, the value, and bounded solidarity, also enforce the trust. So these are the 4 pillars for the social capital. And after, if you build up this communicative power on the social capital, then you can exchange your social exchange to all around the world. Now come to the point that in the trust building process, in the social capital, we already see there is a trust building process, there is a sharing and caring, there is a socialization, there is interactive learning process of the social capital, also knowledge sharing and exchange and interaction. So these are called the social capital. And if you see in this figure, it is actually moving. It is actually moving, and all are connected with each other. And the social capital, the communicative social capital, actually inside this. So it is a very much important part in your life. If you are in a single person, if you are a teacher, if you are a corporate bodies, each and every person you need to capture this social capital inside you. Otherwise, you are not being a successful person in your life. Now come to the point. In the social capital, you have the sense of belongingness. You have the network of bonding. You have the feeling trust and safety. You have the participation. You have the citizen power. You have the value norms. You have the diversity. So each and every point needs the communicative power. If you want to be a participant in a social capital arena, then you must be a communicative person. So communication is the main process to enter the area of social capital. And in a communication process, if you understand the communication process, in the communication process, you have some noise problem. So you must, you must understand the noise. When the feedback is coming, you have some noise problem. So you must minimize that noise. When you are more attractive in a communication, then this noise will be minimizing. Like in a modem, what's the point? Like we are using the modem in every house, because we can use the Wi-Fi system now. So before the Wi-Fi, we have some modem. Now we have the router also. So in the modem, what's the main process of the modem actually work? It is the coding and decoding. It is the communication thing. So when you send something, so modem decode that and also encode that thing and give us the feedback. So this is the language of computer science. I am not a computer science man. I just know about this thing. So we have the power of capital, that is called social capital, which is necessary to if you want to enter the social capital, you must need the communicative power inside it. Now come to the point, how teachers can contribute in building and integrating the social capital through their teaching and learning. Because we are the faculties, we are the teacher. So if you are a teacher, then how can you contribute in building and integrating the social capital through your teaching and learning? So this is the window of social capital. If you just think it, that there is a two-dimensional graph is here. One is the vertical axis, one is the horizontal axis is here. And each of the axes actually maintain the low to high. This is the x-axis and y-axis. Under the x-axis, you have the support. And then the y-axis, you have the control. So social capital window, you have the support and control. In the x-axis, then in the horizontal axis, you have the support. It is the encouragement, love, growth, and warmth. Low to high. In a vertical axis, in the y-axis, suppose you have the control, like limit setting, expectation structure, intention, boundary, discipline. So just think about it, that doing to, doing with, doing nothing, doing for. So in this window, when you see that doing to, then it is blaming. And also, when the y-axis is high, x-axis is low. So when the y-axis is low, doing nothing, then also x-axis is low. And when the y-axis is low, doing for, you have x-axis is high, like support, like reasoning. Also, when y-axis is high and also the x-axis is high, then there is a collaborative power, accountability, responsibility, cooperativeness. So it means that in a communication power, you need to support and also the control. So when your controlling power and also your supporting power is high, then this will meet to the doing with. And when you meet the doing with, then you see it's the social capital is automatically exist here, like collaborative, cooperative, responsible, accountable. Like as a faculty, you must be cooperative. You must be responsible to your student. You must be accountability. You have the accountability in your job. So it is means doing with. So just you can understand it by using this simple mathematics. Now we come to the point that teacher's role in creating social capital. In a communicative power, it's a very important fact for the teacher who actually teach to your to the student, the faculties who are actually seeing in this online workshop. In this thing, that teacher influence as proactive agents. It's a proactive thing, not reactive. It's a proactive thing who facilitates social interaction and thus adding student to access the resources that in turn increasing their life changes. So teacher are the person who are the proactive agents who actually change the life of their student by accessing the resource. What is your resource? Your resource is your education. Your resource is your power, your knowledge, because I already said knowledge is power for your freedom. So access the resource. So you have that power to give your student, to get your student access in this thing so that they increase their life changes. So these dynamics occur within a context grounded by trust and reciprocity. So when you are doing this thing, your student trusts you. You will be the role model of your student. Maybe in my life, when my students who are actually work in different kinds of multinational organization or in the corporate bodies, when they see me in the roadside, suppose I am walking in afternoon, so they just call me, sir, please wait, sir, I am your student. So they trust me. They remember me because I was the proactive agent of their life-changing part. So you will be, I hope that as a teacher, you will be proactive agent who change the life of your student. Now come to the point in the teacher role in creating social capital, like one researcher argued that trust operates rationally and cultivates reciprocity when a student actively participate in the give and take of their network. So it's a very much important argument because it is a process to give and take. So you give something and also you take something from your student. Also, another part is coming here that different researchers say there's source and outcome of social capital. That is, trust is both source and outcome of social capital. So trust is very much important thing. Another point is here that it consists of the willingness to rely. So your student must rely on you. Otherwise, it's not possible to capture the minds of the student. Now, process in creating social capital. So this combination and exchange of process depends on four factors, like access to the parties, like teachers and student involved, then perceive the value such interaction. This is the interaction process. Motivation for encouraging in such activities. So in your communication, motivation is another part. When you communicate with a student, you must motivate them. Otherwise, it's not possible to get something from them. Then creative capability of such parties. So it's a teacher and student. So what are the underlying principle in promoting and participating social capital? This is the process. The three underlying principles of social capital are here. Number one, what we believe. Number two, what are going to practice. And number three, what we are committed to promote. So as a faculty, as a teacher, you must need to believe something that yes, my students are doing things. Also, you practicing them by communication. Also, you committed to promote your student, because your student actually the ambassador of your university, of your institution, of your college. So if you are not promoted your student, then it's not possible for your institution to capture this world, because lots of your student will success around this world when you create them on the basis of motivation. So this is the three underlying principle of social capital. Now come to the point that how does social capital work? So the term social capital emphasizes not just warm and cloudy feeling, but a wide variety of quite specific benefits that follow from the trust, reciprocity, information, cooperation associated with social network. And social capital create the value for the people who are connected, communicated, at least sometime for all around. So that is the main thing on the social capital. Now come to the point, some example of behavioral norms on the social capital, on a communicative social capital in your teaching life. Like be punctual. As a faculty, you must be punctual. Keep cell phone silent mode inside the classroom. This is also a behavioral norms in your social capital. Be ready to ask question, because you don't know what type of question your student actually asks. Maybe it is relevant, maybe it is not relevant, but as a faculty, you must communicate with them. Communicate with them. Maybe one of my students, when I entered in my classroom, in my master's classroom, my student asked me, "Oh, sir, you are looking very handsome today." So it is also a question that, "Sir, how can you being so handsome today like this?" So this is a question your student ask you. So at that time, if you are not communicate with your student, then your student will not be motivated at that time. So this is the capturing power of a faculty in a social capital. Another point is that mutual respect. So you must have some mutual respect with your student. Without respecting this thing, it's not possible to the point you remember the term give and take. It's not possible. The give and take power in the communication at that time. Also, giving and receiving constructive feedback. I have also said that feedback in a communication. In a communication process, feedback is a very much important part. Also, in a social capital, feedback is a very much important part. Then appreciating other idea and thinking. Also, you have to appreciate. Yes, your idea is very much good. Okay, so so far, if you're a student asking, okay, I want to go the Mars, I want to go to Moon or any kind of planet. Okay, yes, you can. You have that power. It's also a communication process in the social capital. Now come to the point, how can we measure social capital? So it is a scaling method that how can we measure social capital? So measurement of social capital, this is the dimension, structural dimension, relational dimension, and cognitive dimension. Under the structural dimension, you have the three subdomain: network, civic engagement, and trust. Under the relationship, the relation dimension, you have the social coherence, also the social network. Under the cognitive dimension, you have the norms and value, also the trust. It's a very important measurement scale in a social capital, communicative social capital, like in a network. You must have the network diversity inside you, that you can diversify your network with your communication. You have the civic engagement. You have the trust, like general, institutional trust. So your student must trust or rely on you, also your institution. You have the relation dimension. So you have the social coherence, the social interaction, the neighborhood coherence and get together. So that is a very much important part. Also social network, building the relationship, bridging the relationship, linking the relationship. You see, the bonding, it's a bonding, the building, the relationship with bond. Building the relationship with breeze, like breezing the relationship. Also, you can linking the relationship. And also in a cognitive dimension, you have shared the emotion, social support. Also, in a trust, you have the interpersonal skill inside you that you can understand, yes, what your student supposed to say to you. So they are like proactive or reactive. So you can understand their mind. So you have some interpersonal skill inside you. Now the point is here, the determinants is social network, trust, shared norms, and also social license to operate. So this is the definition. The measurement is skill and also the benefits and value. Now, come to the point, the higher education. Why do we see this thing? Because as a faculty, when you say something on your communicative skill, it is automatically come, because I am a university faculty. For that reason, I am saying about the higher education. So if you are a primary faculty, you can be a secondary faculty or tertiary faculty. So a higher education is an educational qualification that can lead to increase the earning potential. So these are the level of education. Why we are saying this? The level 1, entry level, level 1, level 2, or level 4, level 5. I'm just gone through it because this is not our today's topic. But yes, these are connected. These are connected. How? Because with communication. Because another point is come, that is called motivation. So in a social capital, as a faculty, when you are communicate with your student, Motivation is another power because motivation is an internal state condition that serves to active or energize the behavior and give it the direction. So motivation is the process that initiate guideline, maintain the goal-oriented behavior. Because in a social capital, we have some motivational power also. So it is what cause you act, whether it is getting a glass of water to reduce thirst or reading a book to gain the knowledge, because knowledge is a power. In a motivation, it involves the biological, emotional, social, and cognitive force that active the behavior. In a social capital, you have the cognitive force also, the cognitive dimension. In a communicative power, you have the emotional thing, the social thing. You understand the emotional factor in the social people. So in every art, the term motivation is frequently used to describe why a person does something. It is driving force behind human action. Also in a communicative thing. Like motivation result from an interaction or communication of such both consciousness and unconscious factors such as intensity of desire, intensity and reward the value and expectation of individual. So you see, all are related with communication because motivation is a part of communication. So what are the types of motivation? There are different types of motivation are frequently describing in the intrinsic and extrinsic. Like you have some extrinsic person motivation, you have an intrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation in your student are those are arise from out of their individual and often involve rewards such as trophy, money, social recognition. Intrinsic from within the individual such as doing the puzzle, like personal gratification or of solving a problem. So these are two motivational points here. So also, if we describe this thing, that in a extrinsic motivation actually is a motivation from and succeed. A external motivation comes from influence outside of the individual. Common extrinsic motivation are reward and they treat the punishment also. And thus the motivation is one of the power. Basically, here is the main thing, that meeting minimal classroom requirement with the extrinsic motivation to your student. Also, in an intrinsic motivation, we have to fulfillment, self-fulfillment, enjoyment with us. It exists with the individual rather than relying on external pressure or desire for the reward. Also, it is related with the learner. In the classroom material, more likely the process information effective ways by engaging in meaningful learning to achieve the high level of education. Like the goal orientation, the performance goal. In your student student is motivated by their desire to gain recognition from other and earn good grade. Suppose a performance goal is I want to get a in this subject. It is a motivational power. As a faculty, you give them the motivation. Now, also another part is that is the performance goal. Another goal is learning goal in the motivation. Like a student is motivated by desire for knowledge acquisition and self-improvement. A learning goal is I want master in this subject. So as a faculty, when you are communicate with the student, you must give them the learning goal also, because if your student think that yes, I want to acquisition, I want to acquire, I want to desire to capture that knowledge, then I want to be a master in this subject. Also, another point is come, that is called uses of motivation. So there are many different uses of motivation. Like understanding motivation can help improve the influence of people as they work together towards their goal, help people take action, encourage people to engage the health-oriented behavior, also help feeling more in control, like support and control. Another one is improve the overall well-being and happiness. It is also related with motivation. Like you just think about it, that I am connecting the communicative social capital with motivation. So it's a circle. The main circle is social capital, and surrounding the social capital you have the communication, and now you just added motivation with this communicative social capital. So you just plus the communicative social capital with motivation. So the impact of motivation, like activation, persistence, and intensity, the major component of motivation. As a faculty, you can communicate with your student with motivation. So this type of motivation give you the impact. What are the impact? Impact of the activation. Your student now more active. They have the persistence power inside them. They have the intensity to doing something. So in the impact of motivation, there are the impact of motivation. Under the impact of motivation, the activation involve the decision to initiate a behavior, such as enrolling a psychology class. It's a behavioral thing. Yes, I am motivated to enroll in this class. In the persistence is the continue the effort toward a goal, even though obstacle may exist. So, for an example, persistence is taking more psychology courses in order to earn a degree. So this is the persistence. Yes, I want to persist. Then intensity can be seen in the connection, or they have the power that yes, I am doing this thing with advantage, take the advantage, and I'm research, I have the research opportunity to doing this thing outside of my class. So these are the motivational power actually. So how to motivate your student? This is the changing takes time. It's not possible to give the motivation and your student are doing all these things on a single communication. No, you must have communicative goal. You must have communicative vision. You must have support. You must have the power of mentorship. And then you must have the performance power. Then you will get the success. Then you can motivate your student with your communication and also create the social capital with your classroom. It's also a networking part as a faculty, as a teacher. And make it real. In order to foster intrinsic motivation, try to create learning activity based on the topic to be taught. Activity based is a very much important point. Activity based knowledge. Now bookish knowledge is not important for our student. We need to communicate them and must build up the activity based topic or activity based knowledge inside our student. Learning should be practical, communicative, and help students find personal meaning and value in the material. Also, strategies include in the model, videos, and also simulators. These are also a communication process that you can communicate with the video, like online education, also a communication process. In that communication system, in the online education, the COVID-19 teacher, the how can online education very much important for our day-to-day life education. So our student will be get learned by online education. That is a different part. So provide the choice. The student can make their choice. Increase the motivational, communicative, social capital, the networking power, the motivational power inside your student. Your student have to be a powerful mind that they can choice. They have that power. Also, encourage student to be beat their personal best, because it helps students set achievable goal for themselves and generate motivation by encouraging the student to complete against themselves. So this is another point. So avoiding creating intense competing among the student. So it is very much another point is come, that is competition. So if your student wants to give with their personal, their best personal thing, as a faculty, you receive it at first. Don't try to be make it is in a competition. So sometime when the competition running is coming, some of the students said, oh, it's not possible for me to run in this race. So try to motivate themselves and avoiding the intense competition among the students. Also, effective teaching. You must understand the effective teaching method with communicative power. So you must modeling some independent practice. You have some avoiding long lecture. In a short communication is better than longer communication. So it is another point. You must use the specific short-term goal in learning. So teaching a student how to approach the cope with different learning situation. So adapt a supportive style, also a supportive teaching style that allow for the student. So you increase the knowledge of a student or the interest of a student, the enjoyment, the engagement in the performance. Also, supportive teaching behavior with communication include the listening. Listening also is the encouragement. So you must listen to your student and what they want to say to you. Then energize or with the struggling student. So that is another point, that when a student is struggling with poor academic performance, then as a faculty, you must communicate with them and motivate with them. More motivation, more communication, give them the more power. So that is another point. And know your student. You must know your student better than everything. So you are the creator, you are the master, you have the communicative social capital inside you, so you can motivate your student inside the classroom, also outside the classroom also, and help your student the intrinsic motivation also. This is another point you must apply to your student. So another point is make goal high but attainable. So if you are not pushing your student to do more than their bare minimum, most won't seek to push themselves on their own. But students like to be challenged, will work to achieve high expectation as long as they believe those goals to be within their reach. So as a faculty, you have to that power. So don't be afraid to push students to get more out of them. So what are their resources? They must allocate their resource with sustainability. With the sustainable resource power, they can increase their knowledge. Otherwise, it's not possible to become a sustainable education for the student. Then give learning feedback and offer chance to improve. So here is the main important part is here, effective learning feedback. In a communication process, we learn that effective learning feedback is very much important for the faculties, for the students, and provide opportunity for success. So you must provide opportunity for success. So now motivation power motivation plus education is equal to power of education. So this is the power motivation. So power motivation is the theory that some people are motivated by their desire for their prestige and reputation. So ability to influence other in a position of power. So if you have the if you think that you are more knowledgeable, you have that skill, then it is possible that you increase your power motivation. Otherwise it's not possible. So as a teacher, if you think that yes, you are much knowledgeable and you have that skill, then you can apply this power motivation to your student. So the key element of power motivation, it is the highly confident. If you are highly confident, you have the satisfaction level to achieving the goal. If you want to achieve the goal, you must have derived the satisfaction. You have the maturity and a strong sense of responsibility. Then it is possible to create the power motivation from inside you by your communication skill. So what is the power mean? It is the inner power that push you towards thinking, action, and toward the achievement. So your inner power. So if you have the inner power, then yes, it is possible that your inner power give you more communicative skill, and then you have the power to give the motivation to your student with power motivational skill. So what is motivation? Motivation is nothing, is the activities maintain and guides. So gets you going, keeps you going, and determine where you are trying to going. So behavior over time. So that is the main point of motivation. So if you want it, you don't say I can't do it, you say I can do it. So thank you for being your attention with me. And I think I am already finished my presentation. So if you have any kind of question, I think you can ask me. So thank you. I'm giving my floor to the moderator, please, madam.
So thank you so very much, sir. Listening to you was so enlightening and enriching. It was an amazing experience, and I also gained so much of things from your presentation. So thank you so very much for that. And anyway, now as sir has already said that the house is open for questions. So all the participants, if you have any questions, so kindly you may proceed. Any questions from the audience?
So if the audience, I think if the audience has no question, then it means that audience are already listen and very carefully listening and understanding everything. And if you have any kind of question, you can also mail me or text me if you have no question in this time. So I think, ma'am, you can ask them if they have any kind of question. If not, then I think
Somebody has raised his hand.
yes,
If you have
please.
any question, kindly you may ask.
Hi everyone, how are you? Thank you for your presentation. But I have a question, which is what's the relationship between the social capital and the communication?
Okay. So thank you so much, madam. Can I know your name?
My name is Shema. Shema.
Chima. Okay.
Shema?
So
Yeah, from Yemen.
Okay, so Assalamu alaikum. So it's a very much that is called, it's a very much important question, is that what's the relationship between the social capital and communication? So suppose you using the Facebook, so it's a social
Yes,
capital thing. Like in a Facebook, we are very much social now, so we're using the Facebook. So Facebook, when you chatting someone, that is the process of communication. You communicate with someone by the messenger. So that is the way. In Facebook, it's a social part, and the Facebook give us the opportunity, the messenger. This is the communication part. So this is the relationship. When you are a social person, you must have to communicate with each other. Otherwise, it's not possible to get the relationship, to maintain the relationship in a social capital, in a social network. I think this is a very simple what is called answer. But if you know more about it, then it takes a lot of time, because there are so many literature are there. So I think it's a very simple answer, that yes, if you
yes,
think
yes,
that,
it's clear.
yes, yes, thank you so much. Madam, please.
Any other questions? You may raise your hand or you may directly ask the question if anybody has a question. So I guess there are no more questions. So, sir, thank you so very much for your such stimulating and thought-provoking uh, presentation. And we are really enriched. And thank you so very much for your presence here in the conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, madam. And I give my respect and gratitude to you, and also your organization also. Thank you.